back to Diary of Maria B, your guide to all things PhD, lifestyle and productivity. I'm Courtney and I cover videos on all three of these topics. So if you are interested, please hit the subscribe button down below and the notification bell so you never miss any of these videos. In today's video, I wanted to cover the topic of balance, or really just making room for all the different components of your life, PhD, work, and other aspects of your life. And I'm going to share some tips with you to help you balance or make space for every aspect of your life. So I'm often asked by prospective students, is it possible for me to undertake a PhD and have a full-time or a part-time job? And the simple answer is yes. But the more complicated aspect of that question is really understanding how are you going to split your time. So if you are at this stage of trying to decide whether you take up a job while doing your PhD, here are 3 questions that you can ask yourself. Does this task or this job feed in and contribute to my PhD in terms of data, experience, and getting the know-how and conceptualizing my idea? Is this job needed for my PhD? And by needed, I mean, do I need it to finance my PhD? Or do I need it as part of my PhD? Is it an engineering doctorate? Is a farm doc or something like that? One of those that you're based in industry. And thirdly, some people like myself, sometimes you're worried about going through all of academia with very little work experience. And is it part of preparing you for taking up a job in the future? So those are 3 questions you can ask yourself if you're still at that deciding phase of whether to have a job, a side hustle, or something else on the side, consultancy, whether it's paid or unpaid, while doing your PhD. But if you are at the stage where you already have a job and you are doing a PhD, here are some tips that could help you maximize your time and ensure that you're still making progress in your PhD. Throughout this video, I'm going to be referencing tips from Cal Newport's book, Deep Work, and this is a book that I really recommend any knowledge worker have a read. So one of the common problems with juggling a PhD, a job, life, is that from the job perspective, there always seems to be very urgent things that pop up. You know, you get that email here that says, can you do this for me? And you feel like there's a need to absolutely do this right now. And there's a lot of distraction. And that comes into play when you're trying to do your PhD work. So some people have a full-time job where solely 8 hours is 8 to how many hours is dedicated to that job. And then you have time when you're doing your PhD, but those emails coming and kind of distract you as well. The most important thing that you'll need to do is make sure you prioritize your tasks. What is important now? What has deadlines? Is this more important than my PhD? Is filming this video more important than me doing my PhD? Good question for me. But that is one of the main things you need to do. But once you have done that, what your focus really is on maximizing the 24 hours you have in your day so that you can make progress on at least 1 or 2 of these things or all of these aspects of your life. So my first tip to you for doing that would be planning every second, every minute, planning every minute of your day. Now I know this sounds a bit rigid, but really and truly, this is to help you ensure that you're dedicating the time needed for your thesis and your PhD. Because quality work comes from time spent and the intensity of the work during that time. And if we keep getting distracted within those periods that we're dedicating for our PhD, the intensity is being reduced. So when I say schedule every minute of your day, I mean I want you to use a technique that Cal Newport mentions in his book, which is chunks of time, or some people call it time blocking. Set out a particular time of day where you know you can get some uninterrupted time, where you can solely focus on your PhD research. That might be in the morning before you go to work, that might be at night. Just find that time, whether it's an hour, 2 hours, 4 hours. I try to always do at least 4 hours if I know I have a busy day of other meetings, which is teaching, demonstrating, or anything like that. Try to get those 4 uninterrupted hours where I can just focus on my PhD task. One of the benefits to this is in Cal Newport's book, he referenced another author that speaks about attention residue, which is if we keep multitasking, we essentially keep bringing little chunks that's left over from that other task into this task. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I'll be in the middle of something and I can go, oh, I need to do this, and I make a note of it, and then that kind of just starts taking over your thought process. So you want to make sure you dedicate this time. That's why I tend to do it in the morning before most of my emails start rushing in, so I could focus solely on the work and my thesis. Another tip that you can make use of in terms of maximizing your time is batching tasks. Now, batching tasks means putting tasks that are quite similar together. So for example, you take all your PhD tasks and you do them, whether it be replying to an email for your supervisor, writing out a chapter plan, preparing for your supervisor meeting, and then doing research. And then that is one big batch that you have allotted to that time slot. And then you have another batch where it could be doing your work, or have another batch where, for me, sometimes I plan content and so forth. And I also make time for family and friends. And this is actually one of my other tips to you, which is in maximizing time and balancing all of these things, make sure that you schedule some downtime. Downtime isn't just about resting. It's really good, that rest and recovery, because if we keep going, we're going to crash. But downtime offers insight. In Cal Newport's book, he says downtime offers insights, and it is so true. Sometimes when you allow your mind to do absolutely nothing, you get all the ideas. For example, for me, in the shower, I get a lot of my ideas. That's because my brain isn't really engaged, and that I allow myself to get ideas and creativity flows, and I just have to make note of those when I get out. Also, it allows you to recharge, and once you're recharged, you're able to work deeply, because if you are tired, your ability to work deeply and intensely diminishes over time. Now, if you are dealing with so many other moving parts, one of my tips and advice to you would be to write things down. I have a lot of different notebooks. I'm trying to do it digitally, trying to do it manually. I have a lot of notebooks where I try to keep track of my ideas and my thoughts. For your PhD, you're going to have a lot of ideas, so keep track of those. But also, if you're doing other aspects and you have different things that pop up, you have one item to do in that field of work, or in your content production, or in your PhD, make note of them so that you can stay on top of these things, because you'll probably forget some of it, and if you are that great that you don't forget anything, hats off to you. I've said all of this in terms of maximizing time, but sometimes the truth is you're just not motivated to do any of this, to write things down, to set out time. And one of the things that I found really helpful for myself, and actually got from Cal Newport's book, is tracking and trying to monitor yourself. So that simple thing of, I have several streaks. I have a streak on Snapchat, I have a streak on my Bible app, and just keeping these streaks alive helps me to keep reading my Bible. And that is a habit that I now translate into my PhD work, and making sure that I am doing work every day or writing every day. So tracking helps to get you motivated. And Cal Newport in his book referred to writing, reading, researching as lead measures. So what he said are the behaviors that drive towards those lag measures, which is that long-term goal, is completing your PhD. So by tracking these things, you're keeping motivated and ensuring that you're putting in the work to get to the end point. Another thing that I would recommend is productive meditation. And productive meditation is where you're focusing on a task while physically engaged but not otherwise mentally engaged. So sometimes you may realize if you go for a walk, you get that mental clarity. You're able to think out or hash out a math problem that you're dealing with while stuck in the office. So sometimes just take a break, walk away, and do something where you're physically engaged but not too much mental demand, and you can get through those tasks. Those were some of my tips for balancing or making room for different parts of your life. And I just want to end with a quote from Guy E. White, where he wasn't advocating for balance, but rather for us to remember that our soul is not an acrobat in a balancing act, but rather we're like the ocean, we're like the tides. It ebbs and there's flows, and we'll make room and space for anything. So in terms of thinking about balancing all three of these things, they don't have to just be, one move and then everything goes crumbling, but rather we adjust our times, we manipulate time, we manage our time so that we can make room for the things that matter most to us. There's one other quote that I like to end with as well, which is, never let 2 days pass without working on the main goal. So if the main goal is your PhD, make sure that you always make time. 1 day can pass, you can take a rest day, but never let 2 days pass without actually dedicating some time for that main goal. So I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. I really hope it was useful. If you are or find yourself feeling like you're in that balancing act, try to think about it differently. Instead of balancing, think about how you can make time and manage your time so that you can make space for the things that matter most to you. If you enjoyed the video and have any other tips in terms of balancing and managing your time, please drop them in the comments down below and hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you can catch the next video. And until the next time, see you then. Bye bye.